How does peer pressure connect to lipids, carbohydrates, and proteins? Well, I'm Maya Cruz, and in today's TED Talk, we will explore the three macromolecules' impact on society's health with my colleague, Courtney Goldsboro. Lipids. These are carbon-containing compounds that are found in organisms and largely polar and hydrophobic. To remember the functions for lipids, you can refer to them as ships. This right here stands for storage of energy, hormonal roles, insulation, protection, and structural components. The lipids break down into over 4 different types: triglycerides, phospholipids, steroids, waxes, and many others. Triglycerides and phospholipids make up 3 types of fatty acids: saturated, monounsaturated, and polyunsaturated. These unsaturated fatty acids contain double carbons, one in the monounsaturated and multiple in the polyunsaturated. The unsaturated fatty acids can be broken down into cis and trans. Cis is the hydrogen atoms attached to the carbon double bond, and they are on the same side. Trans is when the double carbon is bonded to 2 different sides. Proteins. These are organic compounds that make up other molecules that also make up a large chain. This is an amino acid chain. This is very essential to the life and sustaining it. A way to remember the functions of proteins is right here. This, me. This stands for transport, hormones, immunity, structure and sensation, movement, and enzymes. The structure of a protein has many different variations. For proteins, you have a primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary structure. The primary structure is the order of amino acids in a sequence. The secondary structure is an alpha helix and a beta pleated sheet. The tertiary structure is where there's a 3D-like structure of those alpha helix and beta pleated sheets. And quaternary structure is where you have multiple polypeptides linked together through known covalent bonds. The genetic background of a person can cause their dietary needs to be different from others. The gene TCF7L2 encodes for a factor of type 2 diabetes, while the gene FTO makes its carriers lose weight by its different variations. A person with the variant HAP-A may result in the individual needing a high protein diet. For example, if your parents have genes that carry diabetes or cancerous material, it is more likely for you to have it as well. Carbohydrates. These are made of the elements C, H, and O. They are composed of recurring monomers that are called monosaccharides. This is linked together through condensation reactions. Multiple or many monosaccharides equals a polysaccharide. This is linked together through glycosidic linkages. 2 monomers equals a disaccharide. Carbohydrates, also known as sugars, have a ring structure to them. With too much sugar, an individual can develop type 2 diabetes. The difference between type 2 diabetes and type 1 are the amounts of insulin produced by the body. An individual with type 1 diabetes is unable to produce enough insulin for the body to function properly, while the individual with type 2 diabetes produces too much insulin, which makes the functioning abnormal. Lipids and carbohydrates have similar functions As storage, while lipids have long-term energy storage, carbohydrates have short-term energy storage. Osmotic pressure is also affected by the two monosaccharides. Carbohydrates have more of an effect than lipids. Digestion is another factor. A lipid is digested more easily compared to carbohydrates. The ATP storage compared between the two is 1,760 kilojoules per 100 grams in carbohydrates, whereas there's an increase in lipids, where that is 4,000 per 100 grams. The solubility of carbohydrates is very efficient and is easier to transport, while lipids are hydrophobic and difficult to transport.
Historically, artists have portrayed women as one particular size, small. This one size for all mindset is clearly not a representation of all women. Considering that much of the world does not meet this certain standard of beauty, the struggle of meeting society's expectations has caused young women to adopt poor eating habits. These poor eating habits have led to a variety of eating disorders such as anorexia and bulimia. In the US, a lot of families tend to use different cookbooks and recipes for their meals. However, some cookbooks are used for dieting. This is also a poor way of getting the proper nutrients. This is because cookbooks state that the day-to-day meal plans should consist of low or no carbs and protein.
In a clip seen from Mean Girls, one of the main characters' names is Regina George. She told her friends that she was on a low-carb diet. This was not necessary for her to do because the young girl was very healthy and physically active. Then, the same girl eats the protein bars that her friend had given her unknowingly. She then begins to gain the weight back. This shows the peer pressure in today's society to be skinny. Then, the same girl eats the protein bars that her friend had given her unknowingly. She then begins to gain the weight back. This shows the peer pressure to be thin within today's society. Michelle Obama in 2012 also had a campaign for students to have healthier lunches. This is to cut back on all fatty acids and carbs that would be unnecessary to the diet of a student. Through our Tech Talk today, we talked about lipids, carbohydrates, and proteins. Through these three macromolecules, we connected them to different things in society, whereas peer pressure, we seen with Regina George and how she wanted to change her weight. We also saw how in history, art, and also today in pictures, we see women painted as a small figure, and that you have to malnourish yourself to make sure that you have that perfect body that everyone sees. We also see the malnourishment within certain cookbooks and how we do not get the proper amount of carbs, and how some people may misconstrue those ideas and malnourish themselves and not have the proper diet as well. We also see the impact that Michelle Obama had on the public school system in the United States, and how students were able to receive the proper amount of nutrients within their school system. Thank you for watching.